It is not hunters. It is not any other predators. What is killing Bengal tigers is an ecological mystery that has never been documented before. The Bengal tiger, ruler of the South Asian jungles, is the most vivid symbol of power and majesty in the wild. With a body that stretches over 10 feet in length, or more than 3 meters, and a weight that can exceed 550 pounds, or over 250 kilograms, along with its signature golden coat marked by razor-sharp black stripes like traces of shadow, the Bengal tiger is not only the largest predator in the cat family, it is also a silent nightmare for every living creature within its territory. In a world where survival always walks hand in hand with competition, the Bengal tiger is the clearest proof that ultimate power does not need to shout to be heard. It lives and hunts alone, moving as silently as the breeze, yet carrying an overwhelming presence. Though it does not hunt in packs or rely on teamwork, a single Bengal tiger is powerful enough to keep order across hundreds of square kilometers of dense forest, more than 100 square miles. No predator dares to challenge a Bengal tiger casually. It stands at the top of the food chain, the living embodiment of what we call a super predator. But it is not feared for its aggression. It is feared for its calm, its precision, and its unmatched ability to take down prey with absolute finality. The Bengal tiger plays a vital role in keeping ecosystems in balance. It controls prey populations, prevents overgrazing, and helps maintain biological harmony. Without it, the forest would tip out of balance. In the places they roam, just the sound of their roar can freeze weaker animals in place. And sometimes, all it takes is a footprint left in the damp soil to completely shift the behavior of everything living nearby. Yet ironically, over the past few years, these seemingly untouchable creatures have become the victims of a string of mysterious deaths. Since 2013, a wave of strange discoveries began surfacing across major wildlife reserves throughout India. These findings mark the beginning of an ecological mystery unlike anything recorded before. For several consecutive years, forest rangers, researchers, and wildlife monitoring teams continuously reported Bengal tigers being found dead deep in the forest. These individuals did not belong to any specific age group. Some were still young and in their prime, while others were fully grown adults, even iconic figures of their respective reserves. What makes it even more puzzling is that none of them showed signs of old age, disease, or involvement in illegal activities like poaching. They were all found within well-protected environments, inside pristine forests under constant surveillance. At first, these incidents were recorded as isolated cases, seemingly unrelated and considered within the bounds of natural fluctuation. But as time went on, the number of cases gradually increased and began appearing across various regions, from Karnataka and Maharashtra to Madhya Pradesh and Bandipur. Despite the geographic spread, there were striking similarities among the deaths, ranging from age, gender, to the conditions at the discovery sites. Once the data was analyzed over time and across locations, a repeating pattern started to emerge, something that conservationists had never witnessed before. As more forest departments from different states began to share information, a larger picture came into focus, and it was no longer a coincidence. Something or some factor was silently affecting Bengal tigers on a wide scale, and this systematic repetition made it clear. This was an issue that required serious attention, not only because of the increasing numbers, but also because the deaths were happening exclusively among tigers. Other predators sharing the same habitat were completely unaffected. That particular detail made it impossible for experts to keep looking the other way. After all, Bengal tigers are not fragile creatures by any means, and certainly not easily threatened by unknown natural causes. The fact that a series of healthy individuals died in a short span of time across multiple independent ecosystems strongly suggests the presence of a previously unidentified factor. And that is when a flood of theories began to surface. A comprehensive investigation into biological, environmental, and social causes was launched in an attempt to solve one of the most baffling ecological mysteries to hit the Indian subcontinent in over a decade. Faced with a growing and highly repetitive phenomenon, conservationists, ecologists, and forest rangers had no choice but to construct a chain of hypotheses to unravel the mystery gripping India's jungle ecosystems. At first, they focused on familiar causes, those historically known to impact large predators in the wild. This was a necessary step in the scientific process of elimination. helping to narrow down the scope of the investigation before turning to less common possibilities. The first theory proposed was intraspecific conflict, a well-documented phenomenon within Bengal tiger populations. As solitary creatures with vast territories, Bengal tigers sometimes clash when their boundaries are crossed. However, data from the actual cases painted a completely different picture. The locations where tiger carcasses were found were not known as territorial conflict zones. Furthermore, the age, gender, and random distribution of the individuals across various reserves did not support this assumption. The absence of physical signs typical of tiger-on-tiger battles made this hypothesis less convincing over time. The second theory shifted focus to other carnivores sharing the ecosystem. The leopard was considered a potential candidate. As another member of the big cat family, leopards are highly adaptable and widely distributed across India's tropical and subtropical forests. However, leopards typically weigh only between 110 to 150 pounds, or about 50 to 70 kilograms, and are significantly smaller than Bengal tigers. Ecologically speaking, they tend to avoid direct confrontation with larger predators, especially apex hunters like tigers. Sloth bears, native to central and southern India and known for their defensive temperaments, were also briefly considered. These large insectivorous mammals are capable of defending themselves when threatened, and there have been documented encounters with other animals. However, with an average weight of around 220 to 310 pounds, or approximately 100 to 140 kilograms, their physical structure simply does not support the possibility that they are responsible for the tiger deaths being recorded. While their defensive instincts have drawn attention in the past, they have never been seen as a species capable of impacting tiger populations on such a large scale. Some experts also began to explore whether humans might be indirectly responsible. Could this be the result of sophisticated new poaching techniques, or perhaps an unintended consequence of environmental threats, such as water contamination or chemical residues? However, after thorough field investigations in several reserves, all specialized teams concluded that there was no evidence of human interference. No signs of traps, poisons, or boundary violations were found. Every incident occurred within tightly controlled core zones equipped with modern surveillance systems and regular patrols. And so, with all common explanations gradually ruled out, researchers were forced to broaden their perspective, to look in a direction that had never been seriously considered before. No longer focused on traditional predators or human-related threats, suspicion began to fall on an entirely different ecological group, species that are not part of the food chain, but may possess unique biological traits powerful enough to impact the current structure and balance of the ecosystem. When every investigative path failed to produce a satisfying answer, conservationists began to ask a deeper question. Could it be that traditional thinking itself had unknowingly blinded them? In ecology, the terms predator and prey have long been used to define species roles within the food chain. However, when an unusual phenomenon keeps repeating on a large scale and deeply affects a top predator like the Bengal tiger, those familiar classifications are no longer enough to explain what is happening. And it was at this critical point that a new hypothesis emerged, one that forced researchers to widen their focus to a completely different group: herbivores. Among them, the gaur, the wild Indian bison, became the center of attention. Gaurs are massive plant-eating animals, considered the largest existing herbivores in the world today. A fully grown individual can stand over 6.5 feet tall and weigh anywhere from 1,040 pounds to more than 2,200 pounds, or roughly 700 kilograms to over 1 metric ton. Gaurs primarily live in tropical and subtropical forests, which also happen to be the Bengal tiger's natural habitat. Biologically speaking, gaurs are not rare in many of the protected areas across central and southern India. They are commonly found in places with dense vegetation, plenty of water, and wide, open terrain. Despite being herbivores, gaurs play an extremely important role in the forest ecosystems where they live. Their presence influences population dynamics, resource distribution, and even the indirect behavior of many other species. Thanks to their relatively large numbers and strong adaptability, gaurs are considered a key link in maintaining the structure of ancient forest ecosystems. Their enormous size and tendency to live in groups make them a particularly notable species in modern ecological research. After the hypothesis was raised about a possible ecological link between gaurs and Bengal tigers, The debate exploded within the conservation and wildlife research communities. Many experts believed it was unprecedented to even consider that an herbivore like the gaur, one not known to pose any direct threat, could somehow be indirectly contributing to the deaths of tigers. Meanwhile, other independent research teams began gathering more detailed data from key protected areas like Bandipur, Nagarhole, and Tadoba for comparison. From types of injuries and geographic locations to species density and timeframes, every factor was entered into modeling systems. And slowly, a consistent pattern started to emerge. No longer just speculation, the overlap between high gaur presence and increased tiger mortality in core forest zones became far too obvious to ignore. To clarify things further, ecologists began analyzing the types of injuries observed over the years. They found that most of the deceased tigers shared similar trauma patterns: compressed or damaged bones under high-impact force, soft tissue trauma, and no signs of teeth, claws, or man-made tools. These kinds of injuries could not have come from smaller predators, nor did they match up with typical environmental hazards. Because gaurs are among the heaviest land animals in the region, researchers proposed that the size and body mass difference between gaurs and tigers could result in dangerous physical interactions under certain conditions. Most importantly, the injury patterns in the tigers were entirely consistent with forceful impact from a massive animal, not with any known predator. When simulation models were run, a clear trend appeared. In areas where gaurs were present at stable or increasing densities, unusual tiger deaths also rose in frequency. This does not mean gaurs were deliberately harming tigers. It simply highlights the complexity of ecological interactions, where a significantly larger species could unintentionally pose a risk to others through collisions or indirect territorial disruption. Experts reached a groundbreaking conclusion. Gaurs might be a critical factor contributing to the Bengal tiger mortality patterns seen in recent years, not because they are predators, but because their sheer physical presence makes them a potential danger within the ecosystem. Nature still holds many stories untold, and who knows, the next one might just change the way you see the world forever. If you found this story fascinating and want to keep exploring surprising ecological connections like this one from the wild, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below to share your thoughts, because your perspective helps enrich this journey of discovery.